Trading the foreign exchange market carries high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Trading on margin, utilizing leverage can carry an even higher level of risk that can lead to a complete loss of investment funds. So before deciding to trade the foreign exchange market or using any of our software alert products, you should carefully and diligently consider your personal investment objectives, level of experience, and risk tolerance. There is a possibility that you could potentially sustain significant loss. You should not invest any capital or trade that you cannot afford to lose. It is your responsibility to be aware of and understand all risks associated with foreign exchange trading and to seek professional advice from an independent certified financial advisor if you have any doubts. Auvoria Prime does not exercise trading authority over your trades. You and you alone exercise discretionary trading authority over every trade.
Good morning, everybody. We are going to get this call kicked off in about 120 seconds. We'll give everyone some time to join the call. Thank you all for tuning in, all from around the world. Awesome to have you here. Whether you're tuning in on Facebook, whether you're here on Zoom, whether you're watching this on YouTube later on, or you're watching it live now, thank you for tuning into this call. Super excited to have you so we can go over the insight of the week, how the next week's looking, and a lot of the plans, updates, things that we have made. We went over some exciting things last call about the future of GearBox, and we've made a lot of progress this week on the future of GearBox. So excited to share with all of you. So thank you all for tuning in. And again, we're going to get started in about 60 seconds. Go ahead and let me know where you're calling in from in the world. I know we are running a global business, so love to see where everyone is in the world and where you're calling in from. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and, like I said, get started in about another 30 seconds, and we'll get right into it. Thank you guys all for being here. All righty. Let's go ahead and kick this thing off. I'm just opening up the chat here. Let me minimize some stuff. Awesome. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and kick this thing off. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on this beautiful morning. To start off, first, I need to go ahead and read you this income disclosure so you can first understand trading or using any kind of Forex analyst tools and software to assist you in trading does carry a high level of risk. Only trade with capital you can afford to lose. The information contained in this presentation is for informational purposes only. One should evaluate their risk tolerance and their personal financial situation before trading. If you are ever in doubt, please consult your own personal licensed financial advisor. Auvoria Prime LLC is not providing investment advice, as all trade opportunity alerts are delivered to all participants uniformly without regard to an individual's trade objectives, financial condition, or suitability, unless a user has made customized alert options privately on their own account to further analyze their own manual trade opportunities. These options, again, are at full discretion of the user. Auvoria Prime LLC does not exercise trading authority over your trades. You and you alone exercise discretionary trading authority over every single trade. So again, now that we got out of the way, you are in full control, and let's get into it. Let's get into some data. I'm going to be doing some brand new data collection coming up this next week. We're going to talk about that, what that means, as well as some of the updates and things coming to GearBox that we've been working super hard on. So with that being said, let me take it away here and take us right on over to my FX book. All righty. So we're going to get right into it, and we're going to start off with the 25 pairs. Obviously, these accounts for me, I've been stuck in some drawdown on some of them. They got caught into earlier moves before we increased the entry levels on many pairs based around swing data. Many of them have been battling, coming back from these drawdowns that they had experienced. It's been pretty cool to see how GearBox can handle huge moves and volatility. I've used a lot of EAs in the past, and GearBox is already waiting, for a very precise entry. So if the market continues to go another 500 plus pips past your initial entry, I mean, you're talking about some really huge moves that typically never occur in the market. But GearBox has weathered the storm for some of these moves, and many people haven't experienced these moves. If you got in the past month, you probably didn't experience these. Some of these are things that happened in the end of November into the beginning of December that some people are stuck in some pairs, which we'll go over on the one pair data. But I know I've been tracking some brand new accounts, and I've seen many of you crushing it. So while I'm here looking at some results and talking, I'd love for you guys to go in to the chat box and just let me know how much drawdown you experience maximum this week, and how much profit you've made this week. So I can have a gauge, because I know there's tons of new people in here that they're just they're crushing it. They're making great profits, and there's other people that might be in this position where you got stuck in some pairs that are stuck in consolidation. A huge move happened, and now you're waiting on a large retracement. And I know some people as well are using more aggressive settings and getting crazy results. Some people are super conservative on the super sniper settings and barely getting any returns now. So again, like I said, it all kind of depends on what moves you're in, where you're stuck. And as I've mentioned, a few of these accounts have been stuck in consolidation, which is why we made adjustments all the way to many of the levels. And when I said I'm going to be doing some new data collection here, we'll go over to the one pair accounts here. So as we saw last time, some pairs took some losses, right? On my $500 accounts, you can see we hit some stop losses on different pairs, which we increased entries on the latest GearBox Manager. NZD-JPY had a huge move. It's what my 50K account got stuck in, and AJ. But NZD-JPY specifically was one of those ones we increased by 2. Same with AJ and AU. We increased both of their entries by 2. So what I'm going to be doing is next week, I'm going to be resetting the analytics on all the pairs that we increased entries on. Because of that, I'm going to be getting brand new data collection on the new swing entries for NZD JPY, for NZD USD. So many of these pairs that we saw, any pair that ever experiences over a 20% drawdown, we're typically going to look to increase the entry. When I say 20% drawdown, I mean on a single pair on a $500 account. That's why I run these accounts, to know that if somebody experienced more than 20% drawdown on a $500 account, running a single currency pair, to me, I don't think that entry is precise enough. So we're going to bump it up, and we're going to become more conservative, wait for better entries on these pairs. And that's exactly what we're going to go ahead and do. And we did with the latest GearBox Manager. Now, we have a huge update coming. We've noticed some things with GearBox, specifically regarding to manually closing trades, where sometimes it was not closing the ghost trades completely, which would get you into another trade. This is played in many people's favor, but we do want to go ahead and make an update to that. We'll be pushing out today. We also did see ghost trades plus real trades TPs weren't ideal. So that's being updated in today's update. And as well, the GearBox Manager, we did some performance updates. Sometimes you might notice if your VPS is a little slow, that the GearBox Manager doesn't always set all the proper settings. We have an updated speed performance coming out for the GearBox Manager today as well in regards to that. So a lot of good stuff is coming with GearBox, increasing speed optimization today. So the actual GearBox Manager, we've increased performance in the speed update in the update coming today. So that should help make sure that all your settings always get applied correctly. We've also gone ahead and updated the actual physical GearBox to be a little bit speedier. As well, we have a VPS update coming with an extra ½ gigabyte of RAM to all the VPSs, which should massively help as well speed up things as well. Where many of the other softwares have optimized updates coming out today. So we have a lot of good stuff happening. And Pepper Bradford, I see, has said here that sometimes he's still getting TPs with 14 pips. That again is addressed here in the next update. That was an issue that had to do with the ghost trades not always clearing. Karina here said that she started this week with 3 GearBox accounts. All accounts have 3 trades open, and all of them have made about 0.5%. And the 3 trades were in your CAD. That's awesome. Awesome. Rana Harvey said 3.81% this week, all blue. That's what I like to hear. Magdalena said 9% on one account, 3.3% on another. Pepper said 3.8% gain. Awesome. I love seeing stuff like that. Mariska said 0 profit this week. DD below 20% now, has been 25%. Awesome to hear the DD is swinging back. I know, Mariska, you were in NZD JPY as well as me on some of my accounts. It's been nice to see that one's finally starting to make its way back down the highway to where we needed to go, right? John P here said he's still testing on a $500 account. This week, closed trades, NZD or AUD CHF, and one open AUD JPY. It looks like doing some great floating profit. He's already up almost $15, he says, on his $500 account, just testing around. That's awesome. Corey said hit 10% drawdown on a 100K account, had to close a trade earlier this week, AED JPY at the front phase. That's not good. I don't ever like to hear of a high drawdown on anything over 5% for me on a larger account. I'm not a big fan of, and that's why we increased the GearBox manager updates. Jacob said freshly joined AP 10 days, 5%, splendid. Jacob, awesome to have you here with us. And it's cool to see results like that, right? Because everyone gets different results with GearBox. And why is that, right? Well, it depends on which pairs you're trading, which entries you're using, which strategy you're using. And the big thing is what pairs actually deploy. And when I say what pairs deploy, you have your max pair setting, which is a great risk management setting. It means that essentially, if a move happens on one pair that maybe you didn't want to get in, you might not get in that one. You could get in a different one. It keeps everyone from getting into the same moves at the same time, and also ending up, in the same moves at the same time, which can play in your favor or could play against you, right? It depends on what happens. For example, on my larger account, which has experienced the NZD JPY drawdown, right? This account up until recently had not experienced above a 5% drawdown, and I experienced a 35% drawdown, which me and my programmer have started talking about different ideas for larger accounts, because what we've noticed is smaller accounts need a much smaller pullback to always get out of drawdown when a large move occurs, whereas a larger account's always going to need a much larger pullback to occur to get out of the move due to the lot size multiplier. So we've been toying around with ideas of adding a second multiplier in. This may sound confusing, and I'm not going to talk more about it right now because I'm still better understanding it myself, but we've been looking at some math, some historical data, and from what we've seen, a move like this, we would have actually gotten out of here before it ever went down here. We actually could have gotten it out of it here. So we started doing a lot of digging into these things to say, hey, how can we make it safer for even larger accounts too? Whereas if they do get a large move, they're not stuck waiting for such a big pullback to occur to get out. Whereas if you look at a smaller account, it tends to be able to get out of a pullback much sooner. Like we have here a swing account of mine, which that was a sniper. It got into higher drawdown than a swing, which a swing enters earlier. So it's weird that some of my swing accounts actually have gotten now in less drawdown than my sniper. It doesn't make sense from the outside looking in. But it actually is more due to sometimes the balance on some of these moves and the way the lot size multiplier works. So we are toying around with ideas to, again, continue to increase entries, get better precise entries, but as well, continue to enhance it to where you don't need as large of a pullback on a larger account to get out of a trade if you get stuck in a large move. Corey, I know you said you closed one trade earlier this week, AUD JPY. Did you close that manually? And what trades got you into that drawdown, so I can have a better understanding. We can look at some data and look at some charts, but as you see, new idea. Thank you, Magdalena. She said she loves all the great ideas, new ideas for bigger accounts, new data collection, where we continue every week, right? I look at the market, I look at what customers are experiencing, I look at the data, and I look at my own accounts, and I say, how can we continue to make this better? How can we optimize things? How can we just continue to nail this down? Because there's so many great testimonials, so much great feedback that for me, my goal is always to continue to advance this product where anyone can come in, use it, have a great experience with it, and really never get into a long period of drawdown, which some people have experienced who get stuck in larger moves in the end of November, beginning of December. And, these pairs have been very persistent, specifically. I actually want to go over to TradingView, and I want to take a look real quick at NZD, JPY, and AJ, right? Let's look at some pairs that have been a little troublesome for us recently. So, let's just take a look, right? I don't want to get too into the charts as this is supposed to be an informational call, but I do want to go ahead and just kind of show what's been going on, right? And we can take a peek and take a look and see, what's been going on the day. And you can see that really all of November, right? We started to just go into a pretty big uptrend here from here all the way to here. So we're talking from 71,678 all the way up here. We're talking about almost 400 pips just right there. Some people could have even gotten in earlier back here at the, November 6th, right? And if we look at that move, we're talking right there, just a huge move that might have occurred. And, maybe your ghost entries you were trying to sell right here, which really didn't look like a bad move until it blew through so many levels of support. But you can see we're finally dropping on a chart like that. But as you've seen, some of these JPY pairs made moves that were typically larger than they normally do, right? So that's why we went ahead to all the JPY pairs and we started to increase entries. Judson said AUD JPY has been my problem child. Somebody else said I'm an AUD JPY since Monday. And he said it looks like it's about to finally close in profit for him. And, John, that's great. You've been in since Monday and got into AJ. That's a great trade now. So it's awesome you got into it. But some people have been in it for a while, right? If we go take a look at AUD JPY, right? Let's just take a look and see same thing that's been going on here. A lot of people caught right in the beginning of November and you were trying to sell. And at the time, it didn't look like a bad move, but we continued to blow through many levels of support. Let's see, if we went from the bottom up, let's say you probably got in around here. All right. You're still talking about 500 pips that have occurred, plus almost 600. That's a large move that's occurred. And AJ's entry settings on swing, you weren't really looking for but maybe 100 pips, or on sniper maybe 130. So even if you entered 130 pips into this move, it went another 300-400 against you, which is typically much larger than it happens, right? So that's why we've increased our new entry settings. Andy said mine went into JPY, GBB JPY at level 3. I'm a sniper. It's not correct. It should go in at level 6. Andy, that's correct. That probably had to do with your VPS overload. And then when you use the manager, it may have not been able to apply all the proper settings. It typically provides an error in the experts if it can't apply a template to a specific pair, so you know which one to look at. Anytime you're using the manager, guys, go to your experts tab and just wait and watch it, right? When you hit a button on the manager, let's say you say, oh, I want to use sniper settings, hit the button, go to your experts tab and just watch it. And if you see any errors, look at the pairs that there were errors on. Don't go immediately do it. Let it sit for a few minutes while it tries to apply all the settings, because it will attempt to continue to. If you see timer issues, things like that, just let it sit and come back when it's, there's not a bunch of errors, and look which pair errors. Or the easy thing to do is come back and go check the GBP pairs or any of the pairs that should have increased entries. Just double check it, put the custom entries there because they are programmed properly in the manager. It was more of a problem with VPS speed, which all of these things we are hoping should be very much remedied this weekend with our VPS RAM upgrade, with our performance updates to the manager, with our performance updates to GearBox, with performance upgrades to some of the other products some of you might be using, such as Arrow and Variable. We believe that this weekend there's going to be a lot of optimizations and speed boosts in overall performance for all customers on all products. So that should be super exciting for all of you and address some of these things. Matt Jazz, I'll go ahead and take a look at this. He said he had 3 trades open on AED CAD and the EA closed after a few days. The first trade a loss and the 2 others stayed open. Matt Jazz, it sounds like maybe it hit a stop loss and the other 2 didn't. I'll take a look at your account and let you know if you put a ticket in support, which you said you did. So I'll take a look. Does the flowing changes in expert window ever stop? Brendan, no, they don't. The experts tab, what you're seeing with all the constant messages is actually the ghost trades happening. So that's GearBox behind the scenes actually trading in what's known as a ghost server, looking for those precise entries to get you into. So you will see that those don't tend to stop. They're going to continue to flow. But, as we've seen some of these pairs that have been problem shots, the JPYs, some of the other ones that have been problem shots have been USD pairs. I have been saying for the past 3, maybe 4 weeks, hey, let's start to get out of USD pairs if you can on some of your larger accounts or smaller accounts. I'm going to continue to run USD pairs just on my data collection accounts, but I am eliminating them from my strategies of accounts like, for example, this swing account here. We're eliminating USD pairs. In fact, right as I got out of USD pairs, it got right back in them and got into some drawdown, right? So for right now, eliminating USD pairs is not a bad move and what I would continue to focus on. You can see a great profit factor in this account. It's beautiful. But yeah, elimination right now of USD pairs is ideal, or overall increasing the entries. For the most part, I would just eliminate them for the time being until some of the market and the US economy and politics settles down. As for the rest of the pairs, like the JPYs, increased entries, the GBPs, increased some entries, things like that with the new manager. But again, continuing to, just plan for major market movements, right? We saw what happened with the JPY pairs here. They started trending more than they ever have. So what do? We increase the entries. Anytime something like this happens in the market, we're going to see it on my data collection account. So we're going to adjust it so that we can continue to get better opportunities, better entries, and have more precision. 4 hour line below the trade, where the trade. John P, I'm not sure what broker you're using, but he said on my AED JPY, the current 4 hour bar went slightly below where the trade should close, but it did not close and it's above the red line that indicates where the trade should close. John, it sounds like you might have experienced what's known as slippage. Many Forex brokers, if something just taps your take profit line, so you just tap that line, maybe a wick. A lot of times there's not actually, especially if you're trading on an A-book broker, sometimes there's not somebody on the other end to actually fill that order. So you have what's known as slippage. You're not immediately getting filled just when you touch the window. This is actually a good thing. It means you're trading on a real broker. Oftentimes, if you're on a B-book broker, you're getting filled all the time until you're not, and they want to play games. But on an A-book, if there's someone to fill that order, it's going to get filled. But in telling you that, the point is, if you're near your take profit, you can always manually close. That's always an option if you know how to do that, which we do have the education inside of our academies. But yes, you can manually close the trade if you want. But that's what happens if you just ever tap a take profit. You see the wick, right? Let's see here. Let's look at bars. So when I say the wick, let's say you see that this wick just touched your take profit line and then it didn't close. Like I said, that's known as slippage. It's going to happen always in the market. It's not anything bad. Now, if you blow past a take profit line, right? Meaning, let's say your take profit's right here and that wick went through it and didn't close, then I would tell you that you should probably not be trading on that broker and put in a support ticket with that broker, because that could be known as playing games or booking and different things along those lines. Just like I said, things to look to. Not as GearBox educational, but definitely educational for all our customers on this call to learn. The spread as well. Yep, Mirska talked about it. The spread's a big part of that as well. Go ahead and look at your spread. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4 pips, right? You want to look at your broker who you're using. Typically, if you see really high spreads as well in your broker, you might want to question that. Take a look at the spread. That's going to be a big part of slippage. Like I said, why? If you just tap it and you don't see it close, it's going to be your spread. If it blows through and it doesn't close, look at the spread. And if none of that makes sense, then research your broker more. Due diligence, right? There's lots of things that can go into it. I see oftentimes with softwares, people will try to compare to people and other brokers and say, oh, well, theirs closed Euro USD and mine didn't. Well, that doesn't mean anything. You have to really look at the analytics because everybody's account trades differently. And when I say differently, everyone gets a different entry, different exit point. You'll never find an account with the same exact entries and the same account thing. In fact, you could start 2 accounts side by side with the same exact settings, literally at the same time, 1 second off, and they're going to trade different pairs and have a different experience. So just some education for everybody. Somebody said, don't forget to plug in my laptop. Thank you for the alert there. That's always a good thing because I actually didn't see that window for a minute. My Zoom thing was over it. Let's take a move over to where my plug is. But somebody said manually close in MT4 and remove ghost in GB or something more. Jacob, so if you want to manually close any of your trades, the best thing you can go ahead and do is pause auto trading, close that trade, go to that specific pair that trade was on, and just hit the button that says delete ghost trades or clear ghost trades, right? And let it do its thing. It'll clear them, and then you can turn auto trading back on. You could also not turn the main auto trading button off, and you could just individually go into the common settings of the actual EA properties and disable allow auto trading there and do it the same way. Whatever's easier for you. Brandon said here he's in a 10% drawdown. He's thinking of increasing his lot sizing. So Brendan, if you are in drawdown, increasing your starting lot size is not going to make a difference. The reason I say that is because you're already in a sequence. And when you're already in a sequence, it's going to look at what trades you already have open and make adjustments based on that. Now, if you want to actually have it take an increased position, if the market continues to go against you larger than what you normally would, what you can do is you can increase the position size multiplier. That's how you would make a difference when you already have an active sequence. Is you would be able to increase the lot size multiplier. So if that's what you're looking to do, you're looking to have it take a larger entry on the next cost average to cover your losing positions. You're simply just going to go ahead and increase your lot size multiplier, and that will do the trick for you. Oh, okay. Brendan, he said, I currently don't have any drawdown. Just want to set a starting lot size with expectation of getting to 10% drawdown on a 100K account. The larger the account, actually, so somebody asked in here, how many pairs should you allow to trade on a larger account? And the truth is, I never would allow more than 6 pairs trading on any account. That's just kind of my principles, right? You could increase, your lot size if you want, but at the same time, really 3 max pairs trading is like my belief. I believe that's the conservative standard, to where you're not going to ever get into a super high drawdown that you're uncomfortable with, especially in a large account, right? Like, let's just take a look, to go back in perspective on this 10K swing account. It's experienced a 13% drawdown. All right, it's running a 0.10 starting lot size, and it's experienced that drawdown running only 3 max pairs. So somebody on a 100K account saying, you want to use only a 0.15 on a 100K, that's very conservative. I'll tell you that you're most likely never going to touch 10% unless you're doing something extremely custom and different, in that regards. But typically the rule of thumb is 0.01 per thousand. Now, you can also scale back. The other option for conservative users who do want to run more pairs, right, is maybe you scale back your lot size and you can run more pairs. Again, I'm not a fan of that strategy because I like to eliminate my exposure, to where I'm only trading a select amount of these pairs at once, right? Because, the other part, and the reason I tell you this is I'm going to give you guys a story. It happened in my early on GearBox development. I don't even know if I have the account connected. Actually, I do. I'm going to show you. In my early on GearBox development, before I added many new features, this is one of the OG accounts that when I first started developing GearBox, this account was actually only running 2 pairs. It was only running AUD USD and AUD JPY. And where this loss happened here is where I came up with many new ideas, for new features. And the reason for that is I saw, that really this event that occurred here, what happened on this day in June. This was a random like Tuesday. There was no red folder news, and it wasn't just these 2 pairs. Actually, all like 30 pairs, the majors and the minors, all of them just at the same time trended like 300 pips in one direction with no retracement, all in the same day. And it was just one of those random days where I realized, wow, if somebody was running a lot of pairs, right? I was only running 2 pairs at the time, and it did this, right? Imagine if you were running, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pairs. What could have happened? So that was when I started adding new features into GearBox. I came up with more optimizations and ideas. And like I said, this was way back in June. You see this account started like April. I've been working on GearBox for a long time in a final stage where I was actually running it on live money. This was actually the first live money account I started, with GearBox after demo testing for many months with my ideas and strategies. And this was one of those first ones that, we ran to really start understanding things. But the point in telling you that is the more pairs you run, there's weird things that can occur in the market. such as a situation like that. And I do want to show you guys this as well, right? Remember I said, hey, let's get out of USD pairs. I'm going to show you a big reason for why I said that. This was a larger account and it was running only USD pairs. And you can see it was crushing it, crushing it, crushing it. And we get into November, like, oh, yep. And the USD pairs just went for a roller coaster. And this is why I started saying back then, hey, let's get out of USD pairs. Let's get out of USD pairs. You know, because I saw what's going on. I've let this account run. This account still won 96% of its trades and still has a 2+ profit factor, but it took some losses. It got into a really high drawdown because it was just running USD pairs, and USD pairs started to trend more than they used to. And, you know, this is another reason we also increased entries on pairs like Euro USD and things along those lines. We started seeing a little bit more movement. NZD USD we increased, you know, and stuff like that. So a lot of stuff there. All right. Do all the lot size is 0.01 per 1,000. Yes, that is correct. Brendan said, do you try to reduce correlation by not running many of the same currency? If you run AED or USD, JPY, AED, USD, Euro, USD, GBP, USD, you have a high correlation on USD moves. You're correct. And right, I just showed you that with an account that was only running USD pairs. So many pairs that all correlated all together, and all of them kind of just went against us because the US dollar was weakening and other pairs seemed to be strengthening around our news. And that, you know, sent us in one trending direction. So because of that, yeah, you know, if you were going to want to run more pairs simultaneously, right? Because with GearBox, you have the setting of the max pairs trading, which is incredible because, you know, you're limited in your exposure. But if you were going to take the route where you wanted to trade more pairs and lower your lot sizes, then yes, I would try to stay away from correlating pairs. I would, if you're going to run a custom setup and do custom things, try to stick away from the pairs that correlate when letting them all run together. That's a great idea. And I have been running a 100K demo. I haven't set it up here. I need to set it up. I've been running a $100,000 demo, every currency pair starting with a 0.01 lot size. But I've been running this demo where it's actually trading all 25 pairs simultaneously at the same time. And it is running on swing entries. And it as well has experienced similar things to what has happened here. It's hit stop losses on a few things from swing entries. And I'm going to be updating that account and sharing it on next week's call as well. I'll be updating all the entries to the latest GearBox Manager updates on that account to move forward with new data. But next week, I will show you case the data I've had on the past 8 weeks of running a 100K demo, running all 25 pairs at once, so that you guys can see, for those of you who maybe do want to run more than 6 pairs, right? Or 3 pairs, but you have more capital and you're willing to increase or decrease your lot size to do it. Which pair has the losing streak? Corey said the purple one. This was AED USD. It took the losing streak, right? It went ahead and took a loss, and so did NZD JPY, right? So we saw JPY pairs and USD pairs started to have higher drawdowns, right? So we look at the drawdown some of these experienced on a $500 account, and you can see which ones are crushing it, which ones experienced the problems. NZD JPY had an earlier entry. You were entering, you know, on a level 2 or 3, you know, on swing and sniper and things like that, and that was too early for a pair like that. Same with AUD USD and AUD JPY. These were previously only entering on a gear 2 or gear 3, depending on your settings. And we've now increased that by +2 on all of these here. So that means if you're on swing, your earliest entry is going to be more along the lines of 4. If you're on sniper, more along the lines of 5 for AUD USD, AUD JPY, Euro USD, NZD JPY is same. Right, so we start increasing these entries to really make a much more precise entry happen, which means you also wouldn't have hit these stop losses. You know, if any of you did experience that. So continuing to increase the entries, more precision, constantly getting added. But if you want to look at what pairs have been performing the best, all right, let's take a look at that. That's what impresses me the most, is look at how GearBox handles high moving pairs with proper entry settings. Right, so when we look at GBP NZD, where we're entering on, you know, a 4 or a 5 or a 6, even a 7 sometimes, you you can see it's been just taking it and crushing it on the original swing settings here, with low drawdown, high win rate, incredible profit factor. Somebody can almost get away with just running this one pair on their gearbox if they wanted, right? That's the kind of data I'm starting to look at is, okay, how are some of these pairs performing that are performing really well? Or even GBP AUD, same thing. It's been just performing absolutely incredibly with those swing entry settings for GBP AUD. So, kind of taking a look at some of the data on the currency pairs. Remember, you guys are free to say which pairs you want to run. You could look at the data I provide weekly and go, okay, any of these pairs that they've just been moving weird, experiencing high drawdown, the JPY pairs, the USD pairs, just eliminate them, right? Maybe you just say, hey, I'm just going to run GBP pairs only, right? Who knows? It's really up to you. But the goal in providing this data is to decide what you want to do. Now, I have started new GBP accounts. They're starting to run, and we'll be getting some much more accurate data on them in the coming weeks, which I'll start sharing, where I have a $1,000 account and a $10,000 live account that are only running the GBP pairs, and Euro AUD. Euro AUD I classify in there with the GBP pairs. You might ask why. And the reason I do that is it's another high moving pair where it tends to have some crazy movements. So I like to stick it in there and classify it as well. But you can see it as well. It's done pretty well. It recently got into a bit of a higher drawdown itself. That's starting to recover from. But again, you can see the GBP pairs have been performing over and over and over again. So I've become a fan and said, hey, let me set up some accounts in just GBP pairs. Can we see the table somewhere so we can sort and review the data? GBP NZD, yeah, is well, actually, if you look right now, number one, not in drawdown, but in profit on these pairs is actually GBP USD. Now, I did say, hey, let's eliminate the USD pairs. You don't need to necessarily eliminate GBP USD as you're waiting for such a precise entry, but if you want to, you can. But as well, we have increased the entries as well on this. It went over 20%. The entry for GBP USD was bumped up by +1. As previously, GBP USD had a -1 entry lower than GBP AUD. As well, GBP NZD was bumped up 1. So we bumped up NZD, we bumped up USD to have as well in the latest manager update to have a little bit more precise entry. But the ones that got bumped the most were AUD USD, AUD JPY, NZD JPY. And we looked at a lot of that data and said, okay, let's increase these entries, Euro JPY, things like that. I'm going to show the table here in a minute. I'm seeing the Q&A here. I'm going to run through some questions here. Ronald, I see your question here. You said, good morning, 2 gearboxes running, 1 swing, 1 sniper, no trades all week. I will mentions on a BPS with arrow running also. Hopefully the RAM increase will correct this issue. Ronald, what we did notice is that arrow as well is very, very robust program. We're hoping the RAM upgrade and the optimizations to the softwares, where there should be an arrow update as well rolling out today, which we believe optimizes the speed a lot. But we did look at CPU usage and gearbox and arrow and all the products when just running one. And many of them were using a lot of CPU usage themselves. So they need to be optimized, which we've been working on very heavily. And I've been told an arrow update is rolling out as well today. But we have seen that some problems have been on VPSs that are running gearbox and arrow together, as they are very robust programs. CJ here said, hi, Tyler. One of my team had 3 different pairs open, all which have 2 entries each in their sequence. The strategy is using a swing real TP. He noticed that 3 different sequences, the TP on all 3 entries is 13 pips, seconds 24. CJ, go ahead and send a support ticket with a username so I can investigate and see what you have going on there. I can't really diagnose reading that. I'm a big visual person, so shoot a support ticket and I'll go ahead and take a look and see what's going on and provide some screenshots and some more details into the pairs and stuff there. Ronald, great question. So he said, one of my customers in USA is running MAV version of Gearbox with a bronze pass and has 4 open trades this week. She did not manually approve. So Ronald, what's going on is some people are seeing trades being approved, but they actually did approve them. They just approved them a long time ago. And what I mean by that is if you're using the manual approval version of Gearbox, you're pre-authorizing trades. Now, what happens is in the manual approval version, you might set your max pairs trading to 3. All right. And let's say those 3 pairs you're stuck in. Well, we're going to continue to send you trade opportunities to approve, even though the software won't enter them then. Once the next trade closes, it's going to look at the next pre-approved trades that are in a queue to be entered. And then it's going to see if those trades are still valid. And if they are, it's going to enter them. Meaning that there could be a trade alert you approved a month ago, and you've been stuck in 3 consolidating pairs with max pairs 3, and one of them finally closes, and the software goes to the queue and it says, oh, this was next up. And yeah, that trade, it is still valid. And if that trade's still valid, it's going to enter it on your account. So I have seen some examples of this week where people have been reporting, oh, I've seen trades that entered and I didn't approve them. Well, no, you did approve them. It wasn't today. It was maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago. It could have been, an unprecedented amount of time. But if the trade's still valid, it's going to enter it because you pre-authorized it already. Marcus, when there's an update to GearBox, there's nothing you need to do on your end. The VPS will automatically reboot. The only thing you need to do is once we announce that the update's been made and your VPS updates within 6 hours automatically on its own, go ahead before market open and just validate that your software is on all your charts and that all your settings are correct. That's the big thing. The only thing you should need to do. Somebody said disable your ad pop-ups, not trying to interest in shopping while trying to be in your business meetings. Yeah, I mean, these little ad pop-ups, I don't have an ad blocker. As long as the ads don't pop up in their own window, they don't really bother me. Is there any other steps left after the setup video is over? Amal, I'm not sure I'm understanding your question, but the setup video, if you did everything right, you should notice it's working and trading. Chase said, so you're personally running swing entries rather than sniper entries with 3 max? No, Chase, I'm running a ton of accounts. I run lots of accounts. I have sniper accounts, I have swing accounts, I have super sniper accounts. For me, sniper is always my favorite. I was just noticing that swing lately had performed a little better than sniper because my swing accounts, and specifically many of them, didn't get into the same moves that my sniper accounts did, which then trended against us for a long period in time. But that does not mean that swing is better, because technically swing could have also been on the other end of that, where it got into those same pairs and then it actually had worst entries. And the best example I can give you, NZD JPY took a loss on swing. Okay, well, if we go to my sniper account, where's my 40K here? This account didn't take a loss, but it got a higher drawdown. But because it was on sniper, meaning its entry was higher, it didn't hit that same stop loss the little account did, because it got into the move later. So it's all your cup of tea and what you decide to do, but just a physical real hand example right there shows you that, technically sniper is always still going to be the most precise. Tim, when you reboot your VPS, it does reset all the ghost trades. But remember, on the weekend, the ghost trades by default, unless you change the setting, they automatically clear on the weekend. So that's why we do software updates on the weekend, because it is going to clear and reset the ghost trades no matter what. Now, if you do manually disable this, there is no way for it to not reset them in the current time. Anytime we do an update or the VPS reboots, it is going to reset those ghost trades. But there are some users that do opt to not have them delete. And on the weeks that we don't do updates, they're not going to delete, and it might provide you an extra trade opportunity. Andy said that he had that MAV thing happen this morning where one trade closed and another pair opened, and he hadn't approved it, but he's in USA. So he said that answers that, because again, it was a trade he had pre-approved possibly a week ago, possibly last week, right? Because again, we send approvals on the MAV version for more pairs than your max pairs allows, just so you can pre-authorize the next trade, that if one closes, you're getting into the next valid sequence. It's actually a great thing because it plays in your favor as a USA user, because maybe you get out of a trade sequence at 3 a.m. at night and you're sleeping. Well, if you had already pre-authorized it and it sees the trade's valid, it's going to go ahead and enter it. So super cool feature we built into GearBox that many of you got to see firsthand this week, and I hope you like it. but I am not seeing any more questions here in the chat. So we're going to go over to Forex Factory and we're going to take a look at the next upcoming week and what's going on. As you guys see, there's still some stuff going on, but let's go here and take a look at the next week. And oops, 17th to 23rd here. Let's apply. And we see Sunday, we have some stuff going on there. That's not going to, we don't really trade that. Next week, until Wednesday, we don't see any red folder, but we see a lot of red folders after Wednesday. So you see, let's go in here. Sunday, Tuesday looks super clear. Getting into Wednesday, we're going to get into some CAD meetings here. All right, we're going to see some AUD meetings. Those, for those of us stuck in some AUD moves, those hopefully will play in our favor, right? But you see, we got some big moves there with CAD and AUD. And these are bigger meetings, right? That's why they're red folder news events here. We have monetary policy statements, employment changes, unemployment rate. JPY, we have a big news event here, monetary policy and outlook. As well, later in the week into Thursday, we're going to see that we have some NZD stuff going on. We also have some GBP stuff. We got a Euro ECB press conference. Like I said, a lot of red folder news this week, and because of that, I'm most likely going to be playing on the more conservative side this week, meaning that I may even decrease some of my lot sizes on some of my accounts based around a lot of this red folder news. This is actually a good chunk of red folder news getting in later to the week. So I'm probably going to be decreasing my lot size. I'll release a public statement in the channel later today with my actual settings for the week as I review some of this news and talk about how I plan to handle my own accounts and what I'm doing. Again, you're able to do whatever you want. You're in full control. But I'm always going to tell you guys how I'm managing my own personal accounts so that you guys have information, have my data outlooks and my insight every single week. Mariska, great news. She said, I'm sticking to less pairs until some of the old series have cleared out. That's always a good move, Mariska. Many weeks, as you guys probably notice in my GearBox channel, there's weeks I take some of those accounts I have 6 pairs running on, I take them down to 4. I typically am always running 3. The only reason I'd ever lower 3 is if, 1 or 2 just went into crazy drawdown and I didn't even want to enter a third, which hasn't really happened yet. But I will tell you that, you can go ahead and stick to less pairs. I would stick to less pairs if you're already in open sequences. If you're a newer user, you've been making tons of profit, maybe just decrease your max pairs for the week as well. Pepper said, how do you decrease the lot size globally? Pepper, the easiest way to decrease the lot size globally is to use the GearBox manager and go into the manager and set your lot size and then apply. And it'll apply to every single chart. Adam asked, what about the account he was testing for H1? Adam, that account is purely GBP pairs. And as I have more data on it, I will share it in the next coming weeks. As I mentioned, I'm running a $1,000 and a $10,000 account on GBP pairs on the hour 1 chart, running only GBP pairs. I will start releasing some data on that in the coming weeks as I have more data on it. But right now, as I only have a week's worth of data, it's not enough data for me to really want to share anything insightful yet. Brendan, you're founding a new tab, which we haven't discussed yet in the GearBox Manager. He said, what is master meaning GearBox Manager? There will be more education coming on that with the next GearBox Manager update, as there's some super cool features we have coming to the GearBox Manager. But you're finding some of our backend stuff, and you don't need to play with that right now. It doesn't do anything at the current moment for that version. But you're finding some of the hidden things to when our updated manager comes out, where you can apply all the settings across all the charts, meaning that, you don't just have your lot size and your max pairs trading, but you're going to get all the new features to be able to set if you want to delete ghost trades or not, and all those things. We're going to apply all of the GearBox settings into the manager, into that common spot. And you're just starting to see the tidbits of it coming to live. So that's what you're seeing right there, Brendan. Awesome, everybody. Well, I appreciate all of you tuning in on this beautiful Friday. I hope it's beautiful where you are as well. It's beautiful here where I am in Miami. I'm about to actually get packed up and hit the road to go speak at one of our big events we have coming up here in Atlanta tomorrow. So I got to hit the road. I have a 12-hour drive from Miami to Atlanta in my Spur van. Many of the corporate teams going to be there, and many of the top leaders. So, if you're in the area or near Atlanta, come on out, come meet all of us, check out the event. And I look forward to another amazing trading week with all of you. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. And don't forget tickets to our virtual event as well, that we have coming up. So if you don't know about the virtual event yet, get plugged in. We have some incredible events coming up, from this event in Atlanta this weekend to our virtual event at the end of the month, to an event here in Fort Lauderdale coming up as well in February. So again, if you want to meet many top leaders, the corporate team, and get to one of our events, you definitely got to get plugged in. With that being said, we'll see you there on the other side, and have a wonderful rest of your Friday, or maybe it's the evening where you are in the world and you're getting ready to go to bed. But I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, and thank you all for tuning in.